All right, we're looking at another graphing with translations question from the textbook, exercise 14J. I believe this is question 2A. So they want us to be doing 2 sine 3x minus 2. So the important things to start off with are, where is my center line? What is my period and what is my amplitude? So remember, the period form is given by the formula 2 pi on n, and in this case n is 3, so the period is going to be 2 pi on 3. And what that's going to mean for our graph is it is going to complete 3 whole loops between 0 and 2 pi. Now, if you look at the period of the graph, if you look at the domain of the graph listed in the question, it's negative pi to 2 pi. So what I'm going to do is, because we're dealing with pi on 3s as our period, I'm going to lay out my my horizontal axis as being in pi's on 3. All right, so I've got here negative pi, negative 2 pi on 3, negative pi on 3, and then pi on 3, 2 pi on 3, pi, 4 pi on 3, 5 pi on 3, and 2 pi. Now, the other important thing is our center line. Where is our center line? Well, if we look here, it is at minus 2. So let's just do a dotted line to jot in what our center line is going, where our center line is going to be. I'm going to say that minus 2 is about there. Of course, without accidentally bumping my ruler. Now, I'm only doing this so that I have a reference point for me to work with. So that means that if I look at my amplitude, I have got, what is the highest point on this graph going to be? Well, if my center line is at minus 2, where's my highest point going to be?
0.
It is going to be at 0. And what about my lowest point?
Negative 4.
Negative 4. So what that's going to mean is that the entirety of my graph is actually going to take place underneath the axis. So if the period is 2 pi and 3, I'm going to start at 0 because it's a sine graph. Sine graphs all start at 0. I'm going to do this in blue, actually. Where is it going to end? So this is minus 2. It is going to end at 2 pi on 3. And every 2 pi on 3, it is going to have it's going to cross that center line. Even if we go into the negatives, it'll go where it needs to go. So if it is intercepting every 2 pi and 3, where is it peaking and where is it bottoming out? So the start of a period is at 0, the end of a period is at 2 pi and 3. Where else is it also centered? Where else does it cross that center line?
Pi on 3.
Yeah. So remember that a sine graph starts, goes up, crosses the center line before coming back up again. So in this case here, it will also pass through every pi on 3 as well. So this graph is going to go up and down lots of times. The other important thing to think about is where are those peaks and where are those bottoms going to be. So, if it completes a whole loop inside 2 pi, it touches the center at 2 pi on 3, well, the peak must take place halfway between 0 and pi on 3. What is halfway between 0 and pi on 3?
Pi on 6.
It is at pi on 6. So that means I'm going to have a peak halfway. So that's at pi on 6. And whereabouts am I going to have a bottom?
Pi on 2.
It's actually going to be on pi on 2. Good observation. All right, because that's pi on 6, 2 pi on 6. This will be 3 pi on 6, which becomes pi on 2. And then it comes back up. And then it is going to repeat itself. Now, if I join this up, I will have don't give me any guff about my drawing, Mubasha.
Mubasha will mark you wrong.
Now, I've drawn 0 to 2 pi. What do I need to do? I need to go backwards. So, what shape of the graph is it going to be before this point here? Well, it's going to go like that. So basically, it's just it's a continuation for however long you need to go on for. So they want negative pi to 2 pi. That is the graph there. And we can show that by doing drawing our graph. Obviously, we will change the window a little bit. We'll go from, so we've got to go to negative pi to 2 pi, and we'll do it as pi on 6 for my scale. And I want to look at we'll go -5 up to 1. And do I have the correct number of loops? Yes, I do. Could they be a little smoother? Well, yeah, but I'm using this, which my RTX 3080 is blurring out because it thinks it thinks it's not a person or it's not important. So it looks like I'm holding nothing. Isn't technology wonderful? So anyway, when you're doing these, think about where the start and ends of the periods are, then think about where the graph is halfway, then think about where the graph's a quarter of the way through. And that will help you map out where your peaks and where your troughs are going to be.